You're watching Swimming World TV, and I'm your host, Brent Rutemeller. And right now we have the pleasure to meet with Adolph Kiefer. Thanks for joining us, Adolph.
Glad to be here.
Last night was a special night for you. You were given the highest award that the International Swimming Hall of Fame has, the Golden Medallion Award.
Right. Well, I was really very, very honored, and I don't know why they picked me because there's so many other great people.
Well, I'll tell you why. The Golden Medallion Award for our viewers is the highest award given for those who are not only swimmers, but they've gone on to exceed in professional, whether it's in education, business, and you've made such a contribution to the society worldwide, and you should feel very proud about that.
I do, because I still feel that we have many goals to achieve even today with more research and development, more improvements in swimming techniques, more improvements in safety apparatus, more improvements in clean water and clean air, especially because of the problems we're having today with quality water.
Let's talk about what you did in the past that really got you to this point. And everyone knows in 1936 you won a gold medal, but 1935 was a pretty unsteady time in the world. And I understand you were over in Germany doing some exhibition swims. Tell us about 1935 and what was going on in the world.
1935 was it's still in high school, and I had to have a tutor with me to make sure I studied while I was in 6 countries. We had 32, it was there for 32 days. I did 29 races, 29 meets in that short time.
Was part of that getting ready for the Olympics, knowing that the Olympics were going to be in Germany?
It was all the preparation for the Olympics, but it was more or less to get acquainted with all the other countries. And I think it had something to do with the fact that there were some restrictions about U.S. participation in the 1936 Olympics.
Did you know what was really going on in Germany at that time with some of the persecutions of the Jews?
It was very obvious that there was the persecution of the mostly of the Jewish, because there'd be signs in the window of the Jewish Star of David, and there was sometimes, I remember in one town they actually had armbands with the Star of David on their arms, and that was in Leipzig, by the way, Leipzig, Germany, and I stopped to talk to him. I said, "What are you wearing that band on your arm for?" And he walked away from me because he saw the Gestapo right there walking down the other direction. So then I asked the Gestapo what it was all about, but he wouldn't talk to me. It was very obvious.
So there at that time in 1935, was there talk about not going to the Olympics?
Tremendous. For 2 years, we didn't know that we, the athletes, that's including all sports, didn't realize until the day before the boat sailed that we were actually going to go. SS Manhattan. All the athletes, every sport, the newspaper reporters, all of the coaches, and everybody was on one boat on its way from New York Harbor. Never forget it. We sailed to Germany.
Adolph, how would your life have been if you did not go to the Olympics, if that Olympics was canceled?
I would feel that I would not have done what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to make a contribution. I was so thrilled with the Olympics and winning a gold medal and meeting all these wonderful athletes from all over the world and making permanent friends with them forever. And I felt that this is one way the Olympics is very essential as far as solving wars, having fellowship and understanding of mankind, which is really the tradition of what the Olympics is all about.
Have you ever thought about those 1980 Olympians and the effect that they had on their life? Did you ever contemplate the parallels there by them being boycotted?
Well, unfortunately, that was the President of the United States at that time had this opposition to Russia at the time. And, of course, then we did not go, and one other country didn't go. And, of course, then the disappointment was that in '84, this is very bad because the Olympics have nothing to do with politics, although it's the theme today that it does, but it really doesn't.
So here you are in Berlin, 1936, and Jesse Owens is really the talk of the Olympics.
And should be. Jesse won 4 medals. He was the pyramid of the Olympics. He tells more about the Olympic Games than what it really means. mainly because there was a controversy because of the fact that he's an African American. Jesse, I used to carry his bag. I'm glad you asked about that because he was my ideal. He was the captain of the team. I was the youngest member of the Olympic team. And he was good to me, and I always carried his bag and watched him work out. I was there when he won all the 4 gold medals, and he was there when I won the gold medal in swimming.
Here it is, 1936. You know, you win the gold medal, and you got to have a lot of camaraderie. A few years later, we're in war. You're stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, naval base. And at that time, you were inspired to take your knowledge to teach others how to swim. What inspired you to start teaching the naval?
When I noticed the ships coming in at Norfolk Naval Air Station and the base, all torn up, written up, whether there's the British ships or the U.S. ships. There were German submarines right offshore, and most of our ships were having trouble, drastically being torpedoed by the German subs, trying to make their way to give supplies to England in support of the war and in support of the troops. And that we were losing more lives because of drowning than bullets.
What can the younger generation learn from that period of time?
The younger generation should realize that we're all to contribute to stay in shape. I think the biggest feeling here is that physical fitness for a stronger, healthier America would be a good theme. The youth of America needs health, fun, and sports. They need the feeling of competition. It's you win and lose. If you've never competed, you never know what it's like to win. You have a feeling of defeat. But an athlete knows that you don't win every race. So you have the in and out of victory and losing. You realize that you must strive to do better. So that's what you have to do, is instill the passion of achievement. I mean, whether it's sports or music or achievement in any way of living, that we have to contribute and work together as a unit. And that again brings up the Olympics. That's what it's all about.
Adolph, you've influenced a lot of people in your life. Who was most influential in your life?
Well, there's many, but I would like to bring out Bob Kiefer, swimming coach of Yale University.
And founder of Swimming World Magazine.
Founder of Swimming World Magazine, which is very, very critical as far as information of swimming and getting people started in swimming. The Swimming World Magazine is a great, great publication, which everybody should know about. But in the meantime, Bob Kiefer was our Olympic coach in 1936. And before that, I had the opportunity of swimming at Payne Whitney Gym, breaking world's records and swimming at the national championships. And when I gave a speech at the AU convention, and after telling him about how we taught swimming in the Navy, Bob Kiefer and I were on the same train together, he going back to New Haven, and I was on my way to go back to the Navy base. He asked me to be a coach, but I had a chance to talk to him about swimming and training. And he said, well, Adolph, he said, I'm going to give you a book. He gave me a book that he wrote about training, about the word strength. That swimming alone is not enough. You have to have other means of developing your body. So I read the book, and I followed it precisely in the Navy. And as a result of this, Bob Kiefer, which I thought is a great leader, not just for the Olympics, but he inspired me to swim 5 and break all my world's records. And I did that at the Naval Academy, because they had the Ivy League, they had a swimming meet every Saturday, and I registered that I was going to go for a world's record 5 weeks in a row. But training and teaching and being in the water, teaching instructors for 6 hours, 8 hours a day got me in very good shape. Plus, I added Kiefer's philosophy of strength in swimming, and I did what he said in the book. And believe it or not, which I think is a tribute to Kiefer, I broke a world's record with my wife in the stands, with one child, another one on the way, and I broke all the world's records 5 in a row, each a different distance, based on the fact that Kiefer advised me that you needed strength in swimming.
So obviously, Adolph, you've been instrumental, pioneer a lot of things, but also in the product world, you've pioneered a lot of things. What are some of the things that you're most proud of?
Well, I would say the racing lane. We call it the wave quelling non-racing lane, the non-turbulent racing lane. And Bob Kiefer said, Adolph, you're always working on new products, because I was doing that with the Navy for improvements on saving lives. He said, I've got a problem with Payne Whitney Gym. It's wavy, and we don't know. The best swimming lane is lane 3. He said, can't we cut down the wave formation so that it's equal swimming in lane 8 or lane 3? And I said, yes. I said, I think that we can do that. And he said, and he had a few ideas about the gutters and things of that nature. There was no rebound. And I said, well, give me 6 months. So I thought about it, and I remembered several things. Like, I remember going out and going to a restaurant in Baltimore during the Navy days, and they had a candle with a glass frame around it with a very fine mesh, like you carry oranges home from the office or from the stores. So I went to see the inventor of that meshed plastic. Happened to be an English patent. And I went to the factory and talked to the inventor and said, can you make the circumstances, can you make it rigid? Can you make it 12 inches in length? Can you make it with these holes? So it turned out to be that the first non-turbulence racing lane took me 2 years, had it manufactured, we put it together, we put it in the first national meet, and it was a success from day one.
Take us back in time with racing suits. What were the kind of racing suits that you grew up in, and then where did it evolve to during your time?
Well, in the Olympics, we wore full suits, top to bottom.
Made out of what material?
Well, some of them were wool, some of them were silk. The Olympic suits were silk. In fact, they were from Japan, and they were very sheer, but you would cut your shoulders quite a bit when you were swimming. So when the war was over, we decided to find a new method. So we found everybody was talking about nylon just being created, and everybody wanted to have nylon socks. Nylon socks. I decided, why not take that same material, make the mesh a little bit heavier and stronger. So we did a 40 nylon linear plastic materials in nylon, and we had it was stretchy enough so it would fit and form to the body instead of being loose and baggy is what we had before. And I found out that it worked. And I had a friend in Chicago called Vassar's Wear. They made corsets and girdles. And I said, can you help me with this? And the guy knew me, and he said, of course I will. So I talked to the forelady. I said, I want to have it cut like this, and I want it stitched together, but it was all white. And I went to a mill in Libertyville, Illinois, and had them dye it in various colors so we could have, team colors. Took it back, and then I had them steam it to get out the wrinkles, sew it all up, and put them in boxes, a dozen to a box. And that was the beginning of the racing suit that was worn in the Olympics by every country, whether it was Japan, Australia. This is before Speedo got started with Australia. So everybody wore Kiefer suits in the Olympics. But we donated them free of charge to the U.S. teams. And we did that now for 4 Olympics. And so now we still make suits. Our Kiefer suits are very popular in Europe.
So what's the big dream on the horizon for you, Adolph?
My dream, of course, is everybody swim, both boys and girls, to avoid drownings, to have people realize that swimming is number one for sports, for fun, for health. And in the words of the Hawaiian, Ioawa ke iaine kapona, which was King Kamehameha's slogan, on all of his shirts that you might remember from Hawaii. That means the life of the land is perpetuated by righteousness, which really means it's the good things in life that keep the world going. On with the world, on with the Olympics, and on with the International Swimming Hall of Fame.
And on with Adolph Kiefer. Thanks for joining us, Adolph.
Thank you.